quality of the coal is a little bit lower than ours. So you'll always notice lots of smoke these days, and sometimes you struggle for steam on the road. The engine is made by Charles Broyle and Sons of Norfolk. They were quite agricultural engineers, very good at making showman's engines, traction engines and those kind of machines. And this one is brought along by the Fogden family today. They drive the engine everywhere on the road. They don't need a low loader. And it's an old plodder. It was built in 1891, so she's one of the oldest ones here this weekend. So we've had 2 traction engines come round, and now the third one is a steamroller. So the difference you'll notice is instead of having wheels on the front, it's got a great big roll. Well, this machine, instead of agricultural use, it was used for making roads, as it said in its name, a steamroller. Everybody thinks in modern times that the modern rollers, they're still called steamrollers, but in fact they're actually diesel. This one was built in 1931 by Abeling and Porter of Rochester in Kent. And it holds a very special place in my heart, this engine, because it's mine. But because I'm doing the commentary today, I can't be driving it round. So my friend Max and his girlfriend are driving it. I bought the engine about 24 years ago in a semi-derelict state, and have spent years and years and years restoring it. We did new boiler, new firebox, we've had a new back axle, we've had new bearings, pistons, gears. So although it looks extremely authentic, it's actually mostly new. And I always think my idea of a best restoration is that nobody knows I've ever been there. It's harder to make them look genuine and original than it is to make them look brand new. And following that engine around, there's a Sentinel steam wagon. So this is an S4 Sentinel, probably built in around the 30s, I should imagine. These were the modern lorry of the day, so you can see what the traction engine comparison was like. Well, this thing was super duper with being able to do 50 miles an hour, have a flatbed and a modern type lorry engine underneath it. You didn't get so oily and dirty from the crankshaft, and you could use it just like a modern lorry would for delivering anything you like. And I think these guys have decided that in the hot weather, it's quite a good idea to make a swimming pool on the back. So they piled a load of coal bags around and put the engine sheet in it and filled it with water. I think they should actually sell tickets for it, personally. They'd make a fortune. So the engine behind that, we're back to traction engines again. This one you could possibly call the GTI traction engine. It's got rubber tyres and spring suspension, and it's also fitted with a 3rd gear. Now most engines only have 2 speeds, whereas this one, having the 3rd speed, it can romp along at a massive 12 miles an hour, which doesn't really sound that much in modern day, but in old-fashioned terms, if you're comparing that with 3 miles an hour, it's quite a lot. It would probably be more commonly known as a general purpose engine. Because of the 3rd speed, it's not just restricted to farm work, it could also do haulage work on the road. Yes, and it's presented by the Mancy family, who again drive the engine everywhere it goes on the road. And they usually tow at least a living van, a traction trailer, and maybe something else, a Land Rover on the back. Yeah, they always put the old girl to work. So the keen-eyed ones of you will notice there's also a second Marshall traction engine in here. This one is presented by the Elphick family, and my friend Alf is driving it and Carla's steering it. It's very similar to Jess here that's just passing the commentary box, but it only has 2 speeds, and I don't think it's got spring suspension either. It's only recently been brought out in the last couple of years after an extremely extensive restoration. Again, like these things, they're all over 100 years old now, so they require lots and lots of new parts, new boiler parts, new fireboxes, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of money So if you're lucky enough to be practical, you can do a lot of the work yourself. Or if you're lucky enough to be very wealthy, you can pay to have the work done. But either way, it takes a lot of time. So for the more technical minded of you guys, the Wallace that's just coming past me now, the green one, is called an expansion engine. So Wallace and Stevens tried to corner the market to be able to make their engines far more economical than everybody else. And they fitted a special valve on them, so it's got two valves instead of one. And the idea was that you could make the engine use a lot less coal and a lot less water. So in a sales marketing idea, this would be a very great scheme, and you could probably sell more engines claiming that they're better than everybody else's. But in reality, it was an okay idea, but I think it was more of a gimmick than an actual success. Owing to more moving parts, they wore out quicker and probably ended up giving a little more grief actually in the long run. So back to my little steamroller that's coming past. Her name's Polly, although it doesn't have a nameplate, but she's been called Polly for many, many years. It was named after one of the previous owners. Her name was Pauline, and they had a work team of a Thursday evening that used to go up, and the first thing that the work team always used to say is, "Come on Polly, put the kettle on." So they named the engine Polly after her previous owners. She's one of the few steamrollers that still carries the scarifier. Now, as you notice on the back of the tender at the back, on the right-hand side, is a very heavy, very dirty, rusty implement. And that implement takes in across on Friday, and some of the bumps and the holes in the roads are incredible. Having steel tyres and no rubber tyres and no springs, it's a very, very hard ride. But lots of fun. We've got a second steamroller that's joined us now. This one is called Ebenezer, and it's an 8-ton version, meaning that you get an 8-ton load down on the wheels. Again, it was made by Ameling and Porter in Rochester in Kent, and it's very well presented. He had the chimney off this morning just so as he could polish the copper chimney top. Well, they're all doing a fantastic parade around, aren't they? And then I think they're all going to line up in the middle, and you guys can spend 10 minutes having a look at them. And if we check the time, we'll see how much time we've got left, and we might do a few games. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think he had like 3 leaf springs and half a back wheel. If you get 5 minutes to go and speak with him, he's an extremely knowledgeable engineer. And if you look at the quality of the workmanship of this machine going round, so Max has just put Polly into neutral, so you'll notice now that none of Polly's motion work's going round. He's also applied the brake a little bit to just add a bit of tension. And there's Saturn working away over here. You can see the cable being fed through the winch rollers. They stop it running off of the drum and getting caught between the wheel. I mean, you can hear from the engine, it's just gently ticking over. It's not producing any work at all. I mean, I should think this engine would be quite capable of winching 30 or 40 tons, and Polly weighing about 9, 10 is nothing for it. But this is exactly how it would have been done in the day, when you were in trouble, when you were stuck, or you needed to move something, or pull a tree over. I mean, it's funny to think that this engine's been doing something like this for nearly 130 years. Look at that, lovely job, effortless.
What are you doing here? Videoing everyone else?
A bit like when you listen to a railway locomotive pull away from a station. So you can imagine it having 2 or maybe 3 large 10-ton traction trailers behind it, with great iron wheels, all being made out of oak, full of bricks. And this machine is perfectly capable on a main road of towing that at probably 10 miles an hour. And again, you can hear it working now because it's in a higher gear. You've got the chuckling out of the chimney, you can hear the gears whirring. And you can see the crankshaft flying around there, but it's probably only doing about 15, 20 RPM at the moment, but it'll do up to 300 RPM, that crankshaft. Here we go, Jess is setting off again. You can see the lurchiness of the high speed. Saturn back in action now. Winch cable all fully attached, drive pin in, blocks up, and she's away. Oh, he's just changing gear. So like we said, he was in bottom gear for doing the winching, and now he's about to place it into top gear. You'll see him pull the lever across in a moment. There it comes, no synchromesh on this machine. Locking pin goes in. Looks a bit tight.
No, give me the hat, give me the milk.
So like I said, Saturn being 8 horsepower and now in top gear, you'll see quite a display. There we go, little front wheel jump. Loads of chuffing out of the chimney, depicting how much power is being used in top gear. We're coming in for an overtaking move now. So with its great big wheels, it's quite good for a turn of speed. And would you believe that we're all stood here at a steam rally. Some of the first steam rallies were in the late 50s and early 60s. And the idea of a steam rally in those days was to race traction engines at full speed, because in them days they were just second-hand pieces of plant machinery that nobody was really that fussed about. And there was a wonderful guy called Arthur Napper who really started the steam engine preservation movement by making a traction engine. And he had a Marshall very similar to this one over here called Jess, and he had a friend with a Wallace traction engine, and they challenged him for a race. He said, if you bring your engine to my farm, we'll race for a wager for ale. And they raced for a barrel of beer, and the Marshall traction engine won. But in those days, there was no sentimental feelings. It was just out for a laugh. So the engines were just completely and utterly thrashed to death. But of course, you can see Saturn going round there, and as gentle as that is, that's still about half the speed it would actually do on the road. I see Polly's having a little bit of reversing. Like we said earlier, steamrollers do just as well in reverse as they do forwards, because they spent all of their lives going up and down a road. So you'd roll it forwards, roll it backwards. And they're actually quite easy to steer in reverse. As you can see, Max is just facing backwards. It's an easy way to do it. Now Jess is having another little go.
way down for me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that about concludes our full-size steam demonstrations. I hope you found something interesting there out of what we were doing. So we'd like to say a very big thank you to all the steam engine owners here that participated, and if we'd like to give them a round of applause, that would be wonderful. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much.